Hi, welcome up, everybody, or welcome back, whatever the fuck the word is. Uh, Knowing how to say words, who the fuck does that? Um, so we're back with some more Higurashi no Nakakuro ni, and so let's see where we left off. I believe we found out. So we had found out more about our quote unquote, seemingly quote unquote friends, and yeah, so a little bit was Rena apparently has this other personality or what have her where she's like possessed by um, Oyashiro, and yeah, and then apparently something's up with Mion Sonozaki and Rika and Satoko. They've all been connected to Oyashiro-sama's curse and the Onikakushi that happen every year on the Watsunagashi. And yeah, so we got sick as well. Uh, Miona and Nina came by and gave us some food, right? Some mochi. We had to decide. We had to figure out whose was whose between Mion's grandma's and Rena's. And one of them, the one that we suspected to be Rena's, had sewing needles in it. And not only that, but we just like things keep on happening, and we're starting to freak out a little bit, and we decide to that we need to in order to keep ourselves safe. We have plans to keep a diary of sorts in secret, in case if like we get killed or something. And then we also have a plan of uh, quote unquote practicing our swings so we can carry around a bat for self defense. And yeah, and then at the very end of it, we got one of the tips that we usually get at the end of a chapter, and turns out that Oishi-san is thought to be a messenger of Oyashiro-san, like because uh, for the past or for a while now, he's talked to the people who've disappeared, right? Or like some connection in some way to the people who either die or disappear. So yeah, and I think that's where we left off. So let's hop back into it. Yes. Out. All right. I think that was all we had for tips, right? Not feeling so hot. Hold up. But did we look at this one? I forget. Let's do it just in case. Keiichi could have been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder. Oh, wait, no, we did. Okay, yeah, we did do that one. Yeah, okay. Let's continue then. This was the first time I'd ever woke up with such clarity. It was 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I had made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed. I changed quickly and descended to the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mom was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday, I just unilaterally declared that I would be leaving early today, so it couldn't be helped. I slathered jam on some bread and topped it with instant cocoa. Just as I was finishing up breakfast, Mom rose groggily from her slumber. My, Keiichi, you're up early. Is there some sort of school event? Not really. Answering bluntly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread down my throat. You're leaving early already? What about lunch? If you don't wait a bit, I can make it. If I waited for her to make my lunch, then it would end up being the same time as usual. If I did that, it would raise the chances of me running into Rena and Mion on the way. Yes, from today onwards, I was going to go to school alone. I'll be fine for today. Then what will you do for lunch? I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store. Really? And here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring me back the receipt. I took the 1,000 yen bill from Mom and slipped it into my pocket. I think that's what, about 10 bucks? It's pretty early. Is Rena-chan up this early as well? No, just me. Did you tell Rena-chan that you're leaving this early? I have no reason to tell her every little detail, now do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. Tell Rena that I went ahead when she comes. Hey, Keiichi, wait! It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I could probably only hope that they didn't get involved. It was safer that way. My mom's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. God, flashbanging me. Up until now, I had always walked down the same path at the same time each day. So I was always met with the same people at the same places. But today was different. Why is Mom pissed at you? Because we're leaving earlier. So, we've got a plan now to keep ourselves safe. We are going to get to school early and get our hands on a baseball bat. And then, like, quote unquote, be practicing our swings and stuff and saying we're going to be playing baseball. That way we can, like, mask the fact that we're going to just be carrying around the baseball bat for self-defense. But we can't tell our parents about what's going on and all that stuff because there's a possibility that they could get involved or targeted and killed and stuff like that. So we can't tell her that like that's what's going on. So we get leaving early, basically abruptly, and like she just kept asking questions. So we're like, alright, we dipping. Got to get to school first. It's a good cover story. Yeah, I'd think so. Be like, yeah. But today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Rena wasn't in the spot where we usually met. There wasn't anyone at the spot where we would have met up with Mion. The length of the trees' shadows, the morning air, the brightness of the sun, it was a completely different type of morning from what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. It left me with the impression that I had destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before it had enough time to prepare all of the props needed to deceive me. My, Keiichi-kun, you're so early today. Is everyone meeting in this early? The person who had called out to me was someone we always passed by as they were taking a walk along the edge of the fields. Their name was, I forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot where they usually passed by each other. I see you hopped on to, FIFA. I woke up early today, so I thought it would be a good change of pace. That's all. I threw out a random excuse. What about Rena-chan and Mion-chan? Are you by yourself today? Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of questions my mom was asking. So I answered them in the same uninteresting, vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Rena was each time I passed by someone. But maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together so amicably. Even I felt that if I let my guard down, we could still be friends. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't think about that anymore. Am I not allowed to play FIFA while I watch? No, you can. I'm just saying it's kind of funny. Like, every time you hop into my stream, I see you hop on FIFA as well. I just find it funny. You spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it was to go soft, didn't you? Oh yeah, that's another thing. We were convincing ourselves to not to stay soft, to stay strong. Beep 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 beep. car horn blared out of nowhere. Even though I was walking, lost in thought, that horn was way too close. A mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. I'd seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder, and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. That blissfully ignorant train of thought delayed me from realizing something much, much more important. That large mass was hurtling right at me. Why do you almost get run over constantly? Probably because he's walking in the middle of the road. That large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with a painful cold liquid. In that moment, the scene before me, no, time froze. In that silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van, so close that I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause, and I would probably be plowed over, caught in a silly pose. Bend my upper body up towards the patty by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away with just being hit by the side view mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, the temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top. Locked in my contorted position. Splash. That's gotta hurt. Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy patty by the side of the road. My entire body was spoiled and drenched, but the choice I had made in that instant was unmistakably for the best. I was covered in mud, but when the alternative was being hit by the car, it was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising out from the patio, I had enough in me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. I'm not sure if he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. Wait, damn it! This was what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continually yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than any physical wounds. I slogged through the muddy patty and made my way back to the road. This is a crime, goddammit! Shit, I'll track you down and sue you. If I go looking for a van, I'm sure I'll find it in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, and it had become so narrow that one car could barely fit through. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed down in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was closer to my side of the road than the other when it passed me. Even when I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud roiling up within me. This wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right. As soon as I parted ways with that person taking a walk. I had the feeling the whole time. If it had wanted to pass me, then it had no shortage of chances. Paranoid. I don't know. Making some sense. Normally I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner, but I was lost in thought and I was kicking myself for not realizing it was there sooner. And then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, he floored it. If I had hesitated for even a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, and the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in, there was no doubt about it. The van was intentionally trying to hit me. A cold, vicious sweat seeped from my scalp and slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. It was the creepy policeman. Nah, he don't drive a van, he drive a car. Like a normal old car. Also, I don't know if you were there, but We also found out about the policeman, Oishi-san, that he's referred to as the herald or messenger of Oyashiro because people he usually like interviews or like asks and stuff like that like they either end up like disappearing or die, or like the ones that die on the Watanagashi. As if the policeman can't get a new car. I mean, true, but still. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiichi. But also, don't be so naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, then next time, they would use a more reliable method. If that time came and I was acting like I was now, I being in covered mud was the price I had to pay for my own naivete. Covered in mud, without any injury. Not even a sprain. But I guess this is what you would call the silver lining. I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I had suspected only Rena and the others up until now. No, it was because I had suspected them that I had believed there were no other enemies. Oishi-san had said so, didn't he? There was the possibility that all the families of the village were involved. Was I really mired so deeply in the situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it just be like safer to just hold myself up in my house? But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. That was just too horrifying of a thought. I recalled the tales Oishi-san told me, of when Hinamizawa was still called Onigafuchi. A frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must pretend not to see it. The enemy were numerous, all the village families. The villagers with their unwavering faith in the curse that would do nothing to help me. The strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the work of a man, I would catch a glimpse of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And when I suspected it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No, what I really, truly wanted to know was how did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, and then an answer in the form I could understand will appear. I don't care when that'll happen, because until then, I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight and will to keep me alive. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. I circled around the school grounds impatiently, but all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing that I could bring into the classroom easily. Then, I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If it was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. I could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early. Nobody else was here yet. I wondered, what could I find in the classroom? I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat. But it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked at school. But such soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had once thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. That was an incredibly frightening thought. but I believed that not considering the worst case scenario would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive. So long as I live, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there would be anything that could be a weapon in the classroom. In case of an emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers that had come to be used for personal storage. The locker that Mion used to store her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in the class, all lined up. Oh, Doc's on Rocket League. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to be still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. I should go change later. But first, I need a weapon. If one of my classmates came, it would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. I swiftly began opening the lockers one by one. They were mostly filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella. If I couldn't find anything better, then this would have to be my weapon. I was going to give up on finding anything decent when I opened the locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was without a doubt a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beaten up, but there was no doubt about it that it was useful. In that locker that reeked of mold, there was also hung a baseball uniform. It was probably the locker of a student in a Pee-wee league or something like that. If that was the case, then he'd probably ask for it back. At that time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in from the hallway. Amongst them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko. Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Keiichi-san. Actually, just stealing. Yeah, I know, right? I nonchalantly hit the bat I was holding behind my back. What's with your outfit? You're covered in mud. Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to go change now, so cut me some slack. With that said, I began taking off my clothes. Satoko began to blush just as I expected her to. Stripping in front of the lollies. Okay, I see you, Keiichi. I see you. Damn. Motherfucker's pretty bold. Changing in front of a lady? Have you no tact at all? I would think that a lady staring at someone who is changing would be the one lacking in tact. There's no changing room for the boys, so just deal with it. As Satoko feigned disgust, she went into the hall and still blushing. Conversely, Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. She's got your eyes on you, looking you up and down. I don't know what the fuck that was, but... What's up with all the fuckers, like, FBI's, like, situations where it's like... Fuck it today, like, you missed it this morning, fucking for real, but it's like... There was so many fucking FBI jokes going down because we were on the Natsuki route. And, now it's like... Fuck a hell. How many times I gotta lock my door for the FBI? Shit. If Rika-chan is lady as well, then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching. Oof. I'm not a lady, so it's fine. She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Oh, woo. Then, starting now, you're a lady. Oh. Should I even say the joke that came through my mind when he said that? It's like, I'm gonna make you a lady now. I'm gonna make you a woman. I'm undressing, and you're watching. It's not a good mix there, my guy. Did she just? Oh, what? Wait, what do you mean? What? I'm confused. If I'm lady, then I suppose I must. Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika-chan stopped suddenly and turned back towards me. Are you going to start playing baseball? It seems that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, you know, I was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd just try practicing my swings. I think it's wonderful you're taking care of yourself, of your health. She was talking like an old lady, despite her appearance. She's on to us. I know, right? After saying that, Rika-chan started to leave again, but stopped and looked back at me once more. I think, Frido, I'm pretty sure you missed all of the shit that happened last time with all the freaky shit. But, please don't lose that bat. It seems like she already knew I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. I didn't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. She's on to us, definitely, telling us not to lose the bat. That's pretty sus. Pretty sus. It wouldn't be long. It wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was open. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class begun, because I came so early. He came pretty early. Hey, ha. I took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard. That was, of course, to practice my swings. I needed to make it known that I would always have a bat on me so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight had become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, so I wasn't much of an athlete either. Oh, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. Hey, Frito, you're here, right? Got him. I might get muscle pain if I just suddenly started swinging. I should at least start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I gripped the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make it a reliable weapon when it needed to be. Shots fired. Yeah, at you! At you! Of course, I could only pray that the moment I needed to use this as a weapon would never come. Just carrying it around could deter attacks against me. At least, that's what I hoped. Huh? Kei-chan? What are you doing? Being barred with such a hysterical voice, I jumped. Whoa, Keiichi-kun. Are you on the baseball team? The baseball team? It was Rena and Mion. Oh, the two were trying to avoid. Or, well, I guess everybody, but you know. Probably the main two. I was surprised to hear that you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan? Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. You can say it's part of my diet if you want. Diet? Kei-chan, are you really that fat? Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles. Plump and jiggles? Arena, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. To disrupt Arena from imagining something that vulgar, I ruffled her hair messily. Well then, hope you make it to the regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on. Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High is pretty strong. They say their Southpaw Kameda-kun is amazing. Can't fucking read right now. Damn, fuck these bitches. I mean, you know. Good luck. Seems they've made me out as some kind of local prodigy, but oh well. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and catcher. Why must you take it like that? What the fuck else am I gonna do, huh? Huh? You should know me enough by now. After all, I already did that. I'd pitch the ball and then run past the ball I just threw and catch it to, and I'd pitch the ball Then run past the ball I just threw and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. There, I can read! Good for me! I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Oh. Hold up. I gotta DM you real fast, bro. I got some interesting to tell you. Hold up. That's a little violent, huh? Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? We just keep hitting the ground or something? I pounded the ground over and over. Ah, there we go. I pounded the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverberation traveling through the bat stung my hands. It would, yeah. If they make me smile like that, ugh! Don't allow anyone close to me. Don't trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that. If they made me smile like that, ugh! I already knew quite well that there was demons dwelling in my smiling friends. But I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how I didn't confess to the doctor. Was I simply being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Oh, that was in my house. I was like, what the fuck was that? There's the fucking garage, so I opened it up. Oyashiro... Oh, wait, hold up. In other words, did the supernatural being like Oyashiro-sama really exist? Or was it possessing everyone to try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along and everything was just all Oyashiro-sama's fault. You damned fool, Keiichi Marabata. Come on now. I guess everyone's trying to kill you. It's us versus the world. Let's go. I yelled out, drawing out all the power from the pit of my stomach and raised the bat violently into the air. Stop being so soft! As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over. With every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up and down from my ragged breathing. I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. Ooh, we getting some anger issues up in here. I gasped with a sudden realization. That was the final bell. As I felt the tension drain from me, I let out a deep breath. My mind was in muddled state for much the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but it didn't feel like I was asleep either. I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but kind of felt, but I felt a kind of relief that the scant or sanctity of the school, part of my daily life, had yet to be violated. How long would I have to keep on living like this? Could I only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me? Keiichi-kun, come on! It's club time, club time! The sound of Rena's voice brought me back to my senses. Come on, Kei-chan, stop spacing out. So paranoid, I know, right? Bring your desk. Everyone was moving their desks together as usual. That's right. It was happy fun club time. But I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly God, I can't fucking say that word right now. Fucking hell. Stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, so prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to actually say, I'll be going home now. Wow. What's this, Kei-chan? You planning on going home right away again? Rion sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you just let me be for a while? The tone of the words that spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. I felt like the air in the room had dried out. Satoko looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean that I could leave if I wanted, but the collective gaze of the four of them, like the tiny pins used to mount an insect in the display, held me in place. Then it was the only one who cut through the heavy mood. Keiichi-kun, you just don't like playing with girls, I guess? She said it in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. If this pain was going to kill me, I wanted it to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore at my chest, violently tearing out the pins that had held me in place. That's not it at all. I'd only be hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. We turned it into a dick? It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. I firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already soggy from sweat. Realizing that I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I'd become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears pricked up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. And that was why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. These footsteps had matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person, but I had no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me like the car was this morning until we were in a good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. I stopped walking and looked back. The wooden path crowded with trees responded with silence as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. Yeah. I'm literally scared of everything now. Hearing footsteps behind you and shit. Paranoid motherfucker. Or is it, Oyashiro-sama? Who knows? And just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well. Meaning the person following me wanted me to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof that I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for that presence to panic and start moving again. The trees rustled to the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined in a dissonant chorus, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Hey, what's up, Dexter? How you doing? Currently, it seems like we're being followed after leaving class. We've started up our practice swings and shit. And I didn't mean to hit my desk there, but... It's Higurashi. No, it's a wholesome story. Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. Had 5 minutes passed? Or had it been like this for the whole 30 minutes? It was so hard to breathe that I might have suffocated. It seemed like this to be the first time. It seemed I would be the first one to panic. Wholesome? That's very wholesome. What you mean, Friedel? What you mean? Huh? Like, come on, we're just a nice boy out here. I mean, yeah, sure, we're scared of some things, but like... Doki Doki's in the morning. But I appreciate you stopping by nonetheless. Without a doubt, he was lurking in the shade of that tree with bated breath. Then, I had to make the first move. I fixed my grip on the bat. I raised it up to my shoulder to be ready to swing at any time. Please be detailed. Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. It is, about a story of this little kid called Keiichi Marabara. He's just moved to the town of, Hinamizawa. And, he makes friends with a lot of little girls and shit, and plays with them in like a club of like games and stuff, where the losers have to do penalties. And then there's also a festival called the Watanagashi. It happens every year, and for the past 5 years, or 4 prior to this year, people have died on the night of it, and the villagers believe it's a curse from their like guardian deity, Oyashiro-sama. Whereas the police think it, like, at least there's a single police officer that's still investigating it, thinking that they're all connected, even though they seem to be relatively like confined to each other of like the incidents that have happened. And then there's also a thing that happened this year too, where we find out that a couple people, like one more person died and one more person disappeared. And yeah, so it is horror. Yeah, I guess in a way. I mean, technically speaking, yes, it's a horror game, psychological horror, but I mean, it's still a really good game. Like, probably the first, like, fucking 8 hours of it are pretty, like, wholesome and shit, so. We're running, like, I've already got, like, 11-ish hours on this game so far of what I've streamed. Yeah, pretty similar. Although I would arguably say that this is better, but... Because technically speaking, because there's like, I think 8 games of it. Show me the girls. Let's see. Well, I think, here, I'll show you them if they ever pop up. Hey! I know you're there! With all of my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shades of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't quite budge. Until the moment I found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them, but even still, they didn't move at all. Then I'll go over there myself. With all due vigilance, I approached step by step. Stepping into the tree's shadow, I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. This is one of the girls. This is Rena. Rena. When she realized I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't accept that silence and screamed at the question at her. No, not really. It's just that, Rena was in a panic with tears welling up in her eyes, but it was obvious that she had been following me. What about the club? Since you're not there, I'm not... That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play. I'm just worried about you. Any girls that look just like Natsuki? I mean, there's a couple lollies. there's a couple of them. There's Rika-chan and there's Satoko-chan. Satoko likes to play pranks and stuff. Rika-chan is like the wholesome, like she gives you the head pats. Rena-chan, she like gushes over all the cute stuff. Lollies are like the anime characters that are like little girls or something like that. Typically, they're referred to. Lollies are more specifically like little children, like little girl characters that are older than their appearance. But I use them as a catch-all term for like young-looking anime girls. But yeah. Think about how I'd been acting up until. Oh, and there's Mion, who's like the club leader. Yeah, she likes to play dirty sometimes in the games to win because that's kind of their rules. But yeah, thinking about it, thinking about how I'd been acting up until now, it wasn't hard to imagine that my behavior could have been perceived as strange. So Rina was concerned Rina was concerned. At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that was really the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like try to tail me. She should have just called out to me when I was leaving and gone outright with me. Goddamn. Yeah, just a sec. A quick save just in case it clicks off the game. Let's see. Here. There you go. So this would be Rena, Rika, Satoko, and Mion. Also, are there any routes? I don't think so. This is more one of the visual novels where you're just experiencing and playing through the story itself. As far as I know, again, I'm just on the first game at the moment, so I don't know if there's any choices to be made later on, either in this or any of the later games. Because there's an anime about it, and I watched that like years ago, but I hadn't like played the game yet, so that's why. I've been wanting to for a while, so here I am. Who's the one with the blonde hair? Satoko, maybe? Oh, you're good. I mean, if you want to hang out for a little bit and watch, you can get used to them. I'm sure more of them will pop up as well. Yeah. But Rena didn't do that. She kept a distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. How old are these girls? Pretty young. Mion is, I think, 16. Rena is either 15 or 14. We're 15, I believe. Or 16. And then Satoko and let's see, hold up. So 11 is Rika is 11, and Satoko and Rika are both 11. Rena here is 13, and Mion and Keiichi are both 14. I just looked it up. They look 10. Like Satoko and Rika, they look younger than 10, but yeah, no, they're 11. Then, after she realized I noticed she was there. She held her breath and as she tried to hide and as she tried hiding from me. I mean, yeah. I mean, this game's really old. Like, here. Uh, yeah, this game came out in 2002. August 10th, 2002. I mean, do you want to see what the original sprites looked like? Because these are the updated sprites. That's the original sprite. Right there. So yeah, you're about... So wait, you're as old as this game. Damn. So yeah. Doki Doki was 2017. So the art style definitely changed. Uh, yeah. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her. But without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me. Huh. Huh. Still glaring at Lena, I continued walking onwards. After I walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I know! Like, it's like, what the... Wait, you think the older sprites look better? What? I mean, personally, I prefer these, but... I told you not to follow me! Eh, but... But my house is in the same direction. Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and waved my bat violently to urge her forward. I'd like to go home together with you. Well, here's the thing: is you know, it's kind of all based off like Japanese culture and like anime in general, and it's yeah. So you know. Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart. That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go to school together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies. I'm sorry. It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Vina had understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her to walk again. Vina looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on, then hurry. I'm going. So stop. Please stop with the bat. Do any of the girls... Do you... Huh? Do any of the girls like you? I guess? I mean, I don't think there's any romance subplots. I think it's like, it's kind of implied that like maybe Mion or Rena like you. I mean, hell, earlier we were just stripped in class to change clothes because we were all muddy, and Satoko was blushing. I mean, she was also like the tsundere, so she was like, why are you undressing in front of a lady? Yeah, have you no tact? But yeah. It's scary. Rena guarded herself while pointing at me holding the bat. She may have realized that I wasn't planning on using the bat for baseball. I lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened the way for her. Go. There's no problem now, is there? Are there any games that has routes like Doki? I'm sure there's loads of them. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting into, is like, I just want to play a lot more visual novels, and they tend to be quite long games as well. So, like, this, for example, I'm pretty sure that in the anime, this entire first game was put into like 4, 5 episodes, I think, max. And I'm like 11, 12 hours into it. I'm still listening to you, by the way. I would hope so. You're still listening. There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly as to not set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop! Then a powerful gust of wind blew past us, barraging my face barraging my face with dust. The dust got into my eyes and clouded my vision. While rubbing my eyes with my left hand, I swung blindly with the bat in my right, protecting the small opening I had presented. But Ardena didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No, she hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. As her skirt settled, so did the silence. At that moment, the voice inside of me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realizing it, the air around me had suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become invisible concrete. Like Rena and I were locked in this space. Rena didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. Rena was the first to break the silence. Instantly, she altered her stance. I felt like I had just witnessed her shift from Rena into that other person who looks like Rena. But the voice was one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice. Uh, um, well, excuse me, but, uh, can I ask you something? Too shy to even turn around, Rena squeezed her voice out desperately, as she trembled. What? Uh, well, well, why do you have a bat? I wonder. I wonder. The question Rena asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want. But, but, you didn't have to pay. You didn't have one up until today. Why so suddenly? It's alright if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat? But because Keiichi, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird. I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. Is that so weird? It's weird, she answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball, and I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying around a bat. What's strange about that? Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why is Keiichi-kun also... You're rambling. Are you... Your ramblings are annoying me. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to end the conversation. Until my suspicions about Rena were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't get so angry. Rena still didn't turn around and spat out words of apology one after the next. Just one last thing. Just tell me one last thing. I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she had been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely. But even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself from moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Rena asked her final question. Why is that the bat the same, too? What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying? I mean, why is even the bat the same? I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Rena didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, and she screamed. I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi-kun's? Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing the name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Then I had tried to cover it up by saying he transferred, but Oishi-san told me quite clearly that he was missing. He was the student who sat at my seat up until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Oyashiro-sama's curse. What you mean? Okay, here, go back through and, like, watch from the beginning and see if you like it. Because personally, I love this. And if you like Doki Doki, I feel like you would like this as well. I didn't know the details of about his disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watanagashi by a drug addict, and not long after that, he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were... what? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be? Satoshi Hojo. It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. Oh. This was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it? That's not it. The way Rena said that made it seem like this bat was something that should never be touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed and unable to respond. Rena continued speaking without waiting for a reply. Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi-kun did when it happened to him? Rena was talking about more than just the bat being belonging to Satoshi. It was the same with Satoshi-kun. He joined the baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball. What does that have to do with me? Satoshi-kun also suddenly started walking around with a bat one day. He joined the team, but he wasn't the type to play sports. What about it? I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiichi. Rena is trying to tell us something important. Satoshi-kun also one day came to school all by himself all of a sudden. Just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly started practicing his swing. Just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly began carrying the bat around with him. Just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly... just suddenly... What? Rena had swallowed her words. Rena's sudden violence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then I could finally digest the content of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions was exactly the same as Satoshi's. Well, what was the meaning of this? Up until now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. I never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything of what he'd done. My actions today should have been my own creation, after all the planning I had done. But they had been the exact same as Satoshi's? And Satoshi, no, more importantly, if both Satoshi and I acted the same, then there was a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Rena, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Rena knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. Forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Rena knew what was going to happen to me. Answer me, Rena. Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Rena's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. As I faced her, I felt a jolt travel through my entire body. Whew. I told you, Keiichi-kun. It was the person I didn't know. At least it definitely wasn't the Ren and Rugu I'd been talking to up until now. The voice just didn't have a trace of the trembling or emotion that it had before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. That gaze that pierced like a cold needle. The smile on her face that invoked an image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze underneath a layer of rime. Both of Rena's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear from that time before, Rena brought her face close to mine, so close that I could feel her breath. Her face filled my entire field of vision. Then, her sharply shaped lips grew ever sharper. Ah. I told you. Keiichi-kun. After a short pause, Rena repeated the same words again. Satoshi, you see, transferred out. Transferred meaning what? What Rena meant must have been some new definition of transfer that I was previously not aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I had just heard. All I could do was swallow down my own saliva. It would be that Rena saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2-3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Rena and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile. That had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she neither scoffed at me nor held out her hand. But I could neither stand nor escape with her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand. But right now, it was useless to me. I was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping from my skin. But, you won't, will you? Keiichi-kun? Then it finally released me from that cage of time, after what it felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important. It was incredibly vague. Once again, I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What did she not want me to do? Transfer. Ooh. You think this is creepy or what? I mean, I know I'm not a good judge of like what's scary or not, but... Aww! Okay, well, have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let it bite. This was wait. Oh. Yeah. If this is too much for you, then yeah, you better get out now. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh shit. Yeah, I feel you, Friedel. Like, why? I mean, if you want, you could stick around. But I highly implore you to stick around, but like, because again, I personally really love this story. And again, I find it interesting when people get scared. Because like it doesn't happen to me, so it's like, or like when people like get scared by this type of stuff. It's all downhill from here. I swear to God, if I get nightmares because of you. Hey, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Ooh. Achievement. Pinch Hitler? Or hitter. Satoshi and I had what? All my well-planned actions throughout the day turned out to have been nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Satoshi, had he really been in the same situation as I was now? The friends he had gotten along with had changed suddenly, and for no reason. At least none that I had noticed. Planned to kill him? Then, fearing for his life as I am, he got a bat to protect himself, carried it around every day to practice his swing. And then one day, suddenly, he transferred. My blood went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting near my heart, it radiated outwards, from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he transferred to? Was he the only one who would be able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Before I knew it, I was at my front door. The frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? It wasn't that odd of an occurrence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the single key attached to my fur seal keychain. I stepped into the entryway. Just as I was about to take off my shoes, a chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. You're kidding, right? It had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to be able to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. But there was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiichi. How do you know they're there, even though they're behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I'd hear that sound. That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. Keiichi Marabata. There's no way you could hear that. It was mostly instinct than anything else that was warning me of that presence. Common sense was telling me that it was just my imagination. It was just my imagination. There was nobody behind me. I began to erase the mental image of an eerie figure standing behind me. But at the same time, I asked myself, if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? As an uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. Actually, would it be better if there was somebody there? If there was nobody there when you turned around, would you be able to accept that? I'd be able to answer all those questions just by looking behind me, but I didn't have enough courage to even do that simple task. Oh, right. I could try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how I went about it, just so long as I didn't have to turn around. If I had calmed down and thought about it, I would have known that wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse, broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. I could almost feel contemplating their response. I felt it. There's no way I should be able to do that. Calm down, Keiichi. It's all in your head. That time I was certain I heard it, as if hesitantly trying to answer my inquiry. I was certain I could hear the sound of somebody inhaling. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me, however reckless it was, inspired a primal yet fitting solution to this current predicament. I screamed. All the force of my body released from my lungs and throughout my throat, ceasing all thought process in my head. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. Until that moment I turned around, until I brought the area behind me into my field of vision, they were definitely there. Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of the presence suspended in the empty space. It couldn't be. They were invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but they were actually still standing there? As I screamed, all the emotions I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, I was decidedly calm as my emotional dam collapsed. The turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torrent of aggression. MC going crazy. Yeah, I know. He losing his marbles. I mean, to be fair, he's lost those a while ago. That emotion was definitely required to extricate myself from the bizarre situation happening right in front of me. In my state of heightened lucidity, I entrusted my body to the fury. The metal bat held firm in my right hand as if drawn there by a magnet. A mid-level sweep that would be the hardest attack to a dodge. I remembered reading something like that from a book about swordsmanship or something. I swear to fucking... Oh, don't worry about language. I fucking swear all the time. Rah! Let me hear your war cry. I brandished my will to fight. The afterimage of what amalgamation of metal flashed as it swung from left to right, beating against the entryway. The bat slammed into the right wall, the tip rebounding violently. Very calmly, I transferred the force of the rebound into a sweep to the left. The door of the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. Those two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have a great psychological impact on the enemy. I could feel the panic emanating from that space. The attack wasn't the only thing required. I extracted the bat from the cupboard it was embedded in, and screamed as I spun my entire body around in a large arc. Ah! My scream shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Crack! Without mercy or restraint, my violent strike, with certain fatal force behind it, shattered the top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy. My ferocity had certainly seemed to impact them. Right now, basically EMC going crazy thinking somebody there and just swinging around violently at nothing. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat. The invisible enemy, there but not there, dispersed. When I was certain that the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way had it only feigned retreat and was now inside my house. Once again, I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presents. I know. What did it do? It didn't hold the shoes properly, that's what. Yeah. But it was gone. I had succeeded in fending it off. At that moment, the tension drained from my body and I let out a deep sigh of relief. What? Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm honestly curious, like, how is this... Okay, I'm honestly curious how this is scary. I won't play more for now until you want to actually dip, but, like, could you at least enlighten me? Because, like, I don't know. I know, like, I'm all fucked up and shit and, like, being comfortable with being in the dark and the creatures within it, but, like, still. Just creepy? I mean, I understand that there's, like, certain things that, like, set people off about, like, fear and shit, but, like, I don't know. Creepy atmosphere and the thoughts of the character going crazy. It's creepy so much it scares me. Huh. Is my voice acting good with it, though? But, I don't know. I'm just curious, because I've tried to watch a lot of horror movies, read horror books, and all that stuff, and it's just like nothing just gets me. I mean, sure, I can get jump scared, but like that's not really a good scare. I don't count that as like a legit scare. Like I consider like actual horror and all that stuff to be like being creeped out and like that unsettling, uncomfortable feeling you get, like that paranoia settling in. It's what I tried to capture in my book, but like, because like I've never really felt it myself. Like, sure, I got anxiety, but it's like I don't know. So like, if I ever get the chance, I always like to try to see like what's scary. Like with this, like, what, if you don't mind me asking, what's creepy about it? Because I'm like genuinely curious. You don't know? I mean, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't expect anybody like to be able to put it into words properly, but thinking it's paranormal. Well, yeah. I mean, so like anything paranormal creeps you out? Hmm. Yeah. No, I get it would be hard to explain. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just like just curious. I mean, if you honestly truly can't stand it, then yeah, you're good to go. But yeah, I don't know. What is it not fun getting scared? Because that's like the point of this game, isn't it? I just get the feeling something terrible is going to happen. Oh yeah, it's. I mean, that's the feeling that this game is supposed to give you, right? Like that's the entire point. So okay, I'm curious. If you like Doki Doki, why do you like Doki Doki? So okay, if we're gonna say the, so now I'm curious. Just the base game Doki Doki Literature Club. Why do you like that? Just I'm curious because it's basically something like this, just more compact, basically. It wasn't scary to you? Huh. Sorry, it kind of activated like my curious side. So now it's just like I just want to pick your brain and be like, what's going on? Just surprising, I guess. Yeah, yeah. For me, Doki Doki wouldn't be crazy. It wouldn't be this type of horror. Like, yeah, it's psychological horror, but at the same time, it's more glitchy, jump scary-ish type of horror, with a little bit of like unsettling type of horror, like actual psychological horror going into it. But whereas this is like primarily psychological before like a lot of crazy stuff like actually happens. Like again, it took probably what good solid like 8 hours before we got to something like this. I mean, again, I'm like 11 hours, 12 hours into it now, but so it's definitely a lot slower of a burn. But I don't know. Because again, for me, for me to relax, there's sometimes where I literally just put on like horror atmospheric sounds and background music and stuff like that, and I'd listen to that to either sleep or relax to. So it's like, I don't know. I find I'm interested in like what people find like scary. All right, well, do you stream tomorrow? Yeah, I'll be streaming same times tomorrow, 9 a.m. to noon Central and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central. Morning is going to be more Doki Doki, and then evening is going to be more Higurashi. Central. So at the moment, it is 5:23 for me. So go ahead and cross-reference that for yourself. I am an hour behind Eastern, by the way. Yeah, yeah. No, it'll be 10 for you. 10 a.m. Because it'll be 9 for me when I start. No, Eastern's an hour ahead of me, so it'd be 10 for you. Yeah. For me, it's a little bit more annoying because my dyslexia, I mix up the left and rights, and how I keep track of the time zones is east is right and west is left. So, but yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I appreciate you for stopping by in general. Sucks that like you can't stand Higurashi's terror, but I guess it's understandable. Yeah, I mean but that would be the enjoyable part, right? Is to go through the story to figure out what's going on. How do you put what? This is one of my first times. Oh yeah, what you gonna say? What you gonna say? I'm a pussy. I mean, you are what you eat, but jokes aside, it's I mean, eh? I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a scaredy cat. There's like respect in it in itself. Yeah, horror isn't for some people. And I mean, personally, as much as enjoyment as I get from watching people get scared and being intrigued by it, I won't force you to sit here and watch me play. Just extremely light. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I like it because it keeps you focused and adds an element. Yeah, personally, I love horror. I just find it like really interesting, primarily for the fact again, it's like, ooh, people find this scary. Okay, ooh, this is like because there's a lot of things I've experienced, so it's like, oh, this isn't that scary, but this scares people. Okay, interesting. Or yeah, it's just relaxing. Again, I'm more comfortable in the dark than I am the light. Play the maze game. Oh. I should. Yeah, sure. Totally. Totally. I mean, yeah, like for me, like jump scares are, eh. I mean, hell, sometimes I get jump scared when fucking playing Rocket League. Like when I'm dribbling the ball, and like somebody challenges without me expecting. Sometimes I like jump. I'm not even fucking lying. There's like times where like I don't jump too bad. It's like, oh, okay, but yeah, it's because I just get really into it. I don't know how I feel about roller coasters. I used to hate them, but now it's like I haven't even been near one in like so long. It's like, but that was like I was when I was a little kid, so I have no idea if like I'm okay with it now or what. I mean, if anything, like I would say roller coasters are more scary for like my anxiety of like it possibly breaking or something like that. But yeah, I like the baby roller coasters though. I mean, yeah. Again, to each their own. Each person's their own person. So, but yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back into it. If you want to say, then you're welcome to. But by no means push yourself if you can't handle it. It's not a problem. I can see you tomorrow, so. uh, Again, I, I'm not a good person to ask how like scary something is, so I, I, I yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer properly to that. It's like asking me something spicy. It's like I can handle my spices pretty well, so. Friddle, do you know? Have you watched Higurashi at all? I don't know if you have. I'd assume you have. Is this R-rated? I'd say so. Because, I mean, there is. I don't know if you see any actual, like, gore, but. I mean. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely death and stuff in it. Like, we've already. Like, yeah. Because, like, we've already discovered, like, people, like, somebody's died and stuff. We didn't find it, but, yeah. Well, okay, bye if it's R-rated scary. Alright, well, I hope you have a good night. See you tomorrow for Doki Doki. Alright, cool. Try to sleep tight. Alright, well, let's see. All of the emotions I'd been holding back chaotically merged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishments, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow through my body. Unable to deal with each individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest exhaustion. Even in this moment, I remained composed. Sure he did. After checking that all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went through my room on the second floor and closed the curtains. I straightened my back and tilted my head back a little. After clearing my mind of my idle thoughts, I managed to calm down even more. What was that at the front door? There was definitely something there. Thinking back about it, maybe it was just an apparition. I dreamt up in my confused state, but I really didn't think that it was the case. Calm down, mate, Keiichi Marabata. Compose yourself. No matter how calmly I thought about it, what just happened wasn't a figment of my imagination. It was obviously a supernatural phenomenon, and without a doubt, something was behind me. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I had just one piece. When I asked who it was, they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound had clearly reached my ears. The situation I was in right now was still unclear. Either I'd been possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, or this was a ruse by the villagers who believed in it and were imitating it. Either way, their motives were unclear. The roundabout way it had been done was also still a mystery. If it was perpetrated by humans, that would mean admitting that it was Rena and the rest of them doing it, but it would be solvable. Oishi-san and the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy, but if it was a manifestation of Oyashiro-sama's curse, I wondered what would happen. Oishi-san very clearly declared the curse didn't exist. At that time, those words were pretty dependable, but as things were now, with the rising possibility that the perpetrators were not human, he suddenly seemed quite unreliable. If I told Oishi-san this was the work of Oyashiro-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but It would go without question that a void would expand rapidly between myself and Oishi-san. With me having so few allies to begin with, not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse or not, there was no merit to doing that. I'd better keep the facts of what just happened at the doorway to myself. It would be better if I didn't add what happened here to the memo behind the clock. There was still the ever so slight possibility that I was actually confused when I thought it was when I was composed, and I was just going to berserk in the entryway, and I was just going berserk in the entryway. How wonderful would that be if that was really what happened? I would be able to refute Oyashiro-sama's curse. But if I denied Oyashiro-sama's curse, then that would mean admitting that Rena and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Rena and the rest weren't the perpetrators, then that would mean believing in Oyashiro-sama's curse. By denying both of these, I would be admitting that I myself was losing it. The three options from which I couldn't choose became a trilemma of sorts. They mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my mind, making my head spin. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to cool myself down. Calm down, Keiichi. Accept what has actually happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of it. How wonderful it would be if I turned around. If it turned out I was delirious and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination. Oyashiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist and I would still be bestest buddies with Rena and the rest. I would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I'd ever wished for such a thing. The phone rang noisily downstairs. Generally there were no calls from me, so I never really answered the phone much. But since my parents weren't here, I had no choice. I scrambled off the bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is Mayabara residence. Keiichi, this is Mom. I intuitively had a bad feeling about this. It was because I had thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy some things. So I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. The other day we went out as a family and bought a whole case of cup noodles. I wanted to get a bunch of different kinds actually, but there were a few since the individual packs were more expensive. So instead I got a whole case of the mega-sized pork bone and ginger flavored ones I liked. But my parents didn't like the strong flavors and didn't touch any of them, so the cupboards were still full of them. So you see, there really isn't a need to go shopping, right? Keiichi, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Both Mommy and Daddy have to go to Tokyo right now because of work. Huh? Right now? This was really abrupt. No, we're already here. We left this afternoon. It's quite a distance from Tokyo to it's quite a distance to Tokyo from Hinamizawa. Gunning at full speed down the highway would still take 6 hours. Dad had a license, but since he doesn't like the highway, they likely took the train. It would have taken longer. I'm thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Daddy's contract. Right now things aren't going so smoothly. Now that you mentioned it, I did remember that they talked all the time about how his job prospects weren't looking so good. Daddy is really sensitive about these things like this. So if we leave things as they are, it will affect his work. Part of my father's particular fragile artistic personality. His emotions change as easily as the fall skies. Or as the fall sky. Bro, what is the problem with this word? Something up like with the contract going or something like that. Maybe a deal fell through or they can't agree upon something. Wait. I don't know. We didn't get the details, but it's just something about a contract. You could say that he just couldn't take criticism, but something like that can be done over the phone. Keiichi, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyway, it's just faster to just talk about it in person, so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings. As their son, there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work. So, we'll be back tomorrow night. Keiichi, will you be fine on your own? It's not like I'll die or anything. Aye, nice red flag you just set for yourself. Keiichi, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If there's something troubling you, just talk to us. I believe Mommy will be able to help out. Hello? I don't know if it picked it up my fucking door. I know, right? Yesterday I did bring up if I died rather abruptly. Y'all hear that, right? I suppose they were a little worried. But really, I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. But I didn't plan on dying. At least, while I still knew nothing, I would never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive even if I have to gnaw my own leg off. Yeah. See you then. Tomorrow morning, make sure you to wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth. Yeah, see you soon. The call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings, but Tokyo was far away. They normally did things by phone. The times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. I couldn't say that those circumstances didn't feel strange or rather unnatural. Anyway, I only needed to recognize the reality of the situation. Hold up. Hello? Okay. Tonight, I was the only one in the house. Then when my parents came back from work, I'd be gone, missing, vanished. Looking back at the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Oyashiro-sama's curse, it wouldn't seem that strange at all. Come to think of it, it was getting pretty late. I didn't think it was good that the only light on in the whole house was from my room on the second floor. It was the same as broadcasting to the enemy that my parents were gone and this was their chance. First I ran to the living room and flicked on the lights, and turned on the TV to a reassuring volume. Next was the study. I similarly turned on the lights and some music. With this, from the outside it would look like my parents were there. Once again I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw the veranda and the laundry still hanging there, or veranda? Whatever. I went pale. That would have made it too obvious. I needed to take it down. I snatched down the laundry haphazardly, and erased all traces of my mother wasn't. I snatched down the laundry haphazardly and erased all traces that my mother wasn't there. God damn, I cannot read. It should be fine now. Ah, the garbage. They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they had gone up to Okinomiya Station. The garage was empty, wide open, and in plain sight. This was not good. I panicked and rushed out the back to close the normally open garage door. It should be fine. Ah, I need to get that paper. Mom always got the paper, since she left in the afternoon. The evening paper was still out there. This motherfucker. My premonition was correct. I pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. With this, for sure this time, it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard busted like that for my little freak out was kind of bad. I'll just say I tripped and fell, and the bat I was holding smashed into it. Even so, just leaving it in its current state wasn't good. I should clean it up a little before Mom got back and scolded me. I remember that there was a broom and dustpan in the closet. I was just going to go get them. The phone rang again. Once again. Hello, this is my Abara residence. Oh, is this Keiichi-kun? Is your mother around? Ah, she isn't here at the moment. You idiot, Keiichi Marabata. Don't reveal that your parents are gone. You can follow up still. Calm down. Take care of it. I'll think she'll be back soon. That wasn't a good response either. Now they might say they'll call again, or to tell her to call them when she comes back. And that's fine. It wasn't anything important. Well then, sorry for the bother. The scenario I feared didn't play out, eliciting a sigh of relief. Call which that call was fortunate in more ways than one. I'd have to deal with more telephone calls coming in from my parents tonight. I was somehow able to deal with the phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. I needed to make up a good story to explain that my parents were home but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. They were making tempura and I couldn't step away right now. That wasn't good enough. Tempura. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well. Was that going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on the way back to my room when the phone rang once again. It was like they were calling because they knew I was going to lie. I didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. They'd suspect my parents weren't there. I should have just taken the phone off the hook under the pretense that I didn't realize that I was. But since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. I prepared myself and lifted up the receiver.
Hey, Jim.
What?
Is this mirror out here trash?
Huh?
Is this mirror out here trash?
Yeah, sure. Fucking hell. Hello? I stopped announcing this was the Mayabata residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone I didn't know of the identity of. But unlike my uncouth voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and lighthearted. Hello, my apologies for calling so late. This is Oishi from the Okonomiya bookstore. Oishi-san? Is that you, Mayabata-san? Good evening. Good to hear you're doing well. Wait just a moment, please. I grabbed a portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot that felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oishi-san. So, sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? Since then, when was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked about that rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke with Oishi-san was 2 days ago? The day I stayed home from school, I met with Oishi-san on the way back home from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. Then after that, Rena and Mion came up to check on me. Whenever I spoke with Oishi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Mayabata-san? Huh? Ah, sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything's changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There were a ton of stuff that had happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night, when my parents weren't home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely after all. Well, Oishi-san, it seems someone is after me. Really? It could just be a coincidence, but the day I missed school when I was sick, the two of them came up to check on me. Which two? Rena and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder what could have happened, I wonder, could that have just been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. There was a hole at the thread string end, though. Oh, there was a hole to thread string through. Not that, Mayabata-san. The needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where is that needle? That's right. That's it! I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I had overlooked it out of terror, but that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. I had certainly thrown the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. But my prudent mother had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and carpet? I frantically searched by running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desks, pulling up the carpet and flapping it around, but I couldn't find the needle. Did Mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the bundle of trash, or burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. I rushed into the kitchen and opened up the lid of the pail and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell that it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in a pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash bag. I know, I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'll be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. Gross. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash with my hand. Filth threw about. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned about such details. Yeah, Friedel. I continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. I shouldn't keep Oishi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. I hastily began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen. I then dashed up to the stairs, where I had been keeping Oishi-san waiting for too long. Hello? How did it go? I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed back then, and... I see. It would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right, the needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oishi-san, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at the time. What if the needle was poisoned? Or just like straight up poison like the mochi, right? Not just put a needle in it. Did you see the license plate? I can search for it from here. Damn. I just flipped out, yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number. I was so focused on protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry, I don't know much more than that. It was a white van. Nothing to fret about, Mayabara-san. Anyone would be shaken up after being hit. I guess all of this really isn't a coincidence, is it? Oishi-san started the hem and haw on the other end. I could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Lena is acting strange. How so? But Lena said on the way back home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I can say it with confidence that Lena knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more to it than him just simply disappearing. Lena knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. What would that be exactly? Lena said I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end up with the same fate as Satoshi. Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you? Transferring out, she said. Transferring out? Lena said Satoshi transferred out. So given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Oishi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly. Mayabara-san, that was probably some sort of threat, or maybe some type of warning. I thought so too. At that point, I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened up until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Rena and the others, I was left with Oyashiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only other explanation. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Oishi-san. Except, Rena's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Oyashiro-sama's curse being real or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all of the villagers. Rena was involved. Rena had to know something. Rena was suspicious. What exactly was Rena? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seem to recall that Oishi-san had admitted that he had dug into Rena's past a little. He was probably just downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Rena. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among other things that were still unknown to me. If Rena was somebody I could suspect, no, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight, I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to brute force, they'd easily gain entry. There were no other residents close to my Abarta residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I never felt as much resentment towards my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had his house built in such a remote location as I did right now. I wondered if I would still be here by tomorrow morning. Oh, ding dong. So I had to ask, right now, because I had no idea when the next chance would come. Where's she? I have something I wanted to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me. Sure, ask away. Even though he was so far away on the other end of the line, this was the most reliable he had ever felt. I wanted to ask about Rena, about what had happened at her previous school. Actually, regarding Rena's, I noticed a sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making a delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbor to be visiting. Ooh. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I put in making it look like my parents were home. I needed to answer the door. Hello? Mayabara-san? Ah, sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm going to see who it is. A guest? I see, my apologies. Should we end this phone call now? That would be a problem. Ah, no, I'll be back in a sec. Do you mind if I just leave the phone on? It's fine. I don't mind. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down the door. I needed to make a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Oishi-san did. Shit about to go down. In which case, it would be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom. I'll just say mom wasn't feeling well and went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake up my mom if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at regular intervals. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitors. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside me, I had prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mom's friends. Good evening. Rena. There shouldn't be any reason for Rena to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oishi-san about Rena. I wish I could have chalked this all up to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me. There's nothing this old man doesn't know. Ooh, let's go. Are you alone, Rena? Yeah. It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why did you come here? Hey, Keiichi-kun. I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside, I wonder? I wonder? It was true that speaking through a chained door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house, the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it. Ooh. Then it can't be helped, I guess. Then it pounded rather sadly. But she kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibilities that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain, was trusting Rena enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. She trying to smash? Yes. Yes. As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Rena. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get me into the entranceway, or trying to get into the entranceway. Um, have you eaten yet, Keiichi-kun? No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I lied down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. I was going to have a cup of noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, not yet. What about it? Then good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes. Then I held out a stack of boxes wrapped up in cloth. If I could use your kitchen, I could heat up the miso soup and other stuff. It's fine. You don't need to do that. But but there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiichi-kun not like that type of stuff? I wonder? I wonder? There's no way I wouldn't like it. Or there's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root, and potatoes, then some fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible. I also brought rice, so if you microwave it and you can eat it really quickly. Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup in between ravenous bites. Ah, yes. How wonderful it would be to how wonderful it is to be born Japanese. I is he's a weeb, huh? He's a Japanese weeb. They're right though. I know, right? It's making me hungry. I kind of. You know what? Bite a bite of pizza. Man, is it good to be American? Not really, but you know. Let's see if Cooper will bring me a Pepsi. Because mine's out now. Alright, sorry about that. The game made me hungry, so I had to think about a pizza. Also, I made some more pickles. Ah, gross. I made sansai pickles at this time. Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called sansai. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep, yet light flavor. The vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables for the uninitiated. Bring me one too. Bring you what? Oh, Pepsi? Hold. He said hold him back, like in response. It's funny. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake of sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. Ah, no matter what kind of pickles they were. They'd go well with that fluffy white rice. And also, but wait, there's more? So delicious. Just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Yeah, for shame. Rena appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such a delicious sounding dinner. Oh, thank you. Let's go. It's nice to have a younger brother make him get you shit. He's my slave. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my wariness of Verdana suddenly dwindled. Verdana said she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside, though the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. Oh, all the sibling is good for you. Exactly. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. Ooh, wait, what? Oh, hey! Thank you for the follow! Danielos? Locks? I think? Oh. This happy dinner, speaking of this charming dinner, was dependent on one premise. And that premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house. Meaning it was under the... Ooh. Meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner right around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew. Elena, did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Elena was unsure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, and the evening paper. There were plenty of signs for them being hastily tidied up. It wasn't hard to say that Elena didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact for as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Elena wouldn't be able to do anything to me. True. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon. Huh? Is that so? I know you went through all the effort and everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly. But some of this could work as a side dish, I think. I'm sorry, we have more than enough already. My mom always makes quite a few sides, so... Huh? You have side dishes? With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her question apologetically. But the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Redena was saying. Redena was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well. So Keiichi-kun can cook. What did you make, I wonder? No, well, it's not that Redena had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather that my mom hadn't. Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiichi-kun? It wasn't me who made them. My mom did. No, she's making them. Right now. Ooh. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. But then I fell silent at that moment. At that moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes. How about I try guessing what Keiichi-kun's dinner will be? It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat. Let's see. Conversation might appear natural at first glance, but her dinner was firmly in control. I felt like I was being interrogated. Your dinner. I wonder, is this something that can be made with just hot water? Hey now, stop with the insults. I can't believe you'd belittle my mom's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out full capacity already. It's that amazing. I know, right? I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grip my teeth quite right. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Arduna showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness. Keiichi-kun, did your mother really really leave you dinner? No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Arduna had taken that assertion of mine that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Arduna became. Hey, Keiichi-kun. At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in the gap of the doorway. Is your mom home? I wonder. I couldn't keep up this charade anymore. Arduna, she knew full well that my parents weren't home, but I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here, and we'd be having dinner soon. That was the situation I had concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Then his eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their Gelid's glare? Ooh. Why? Huh? But what do you mean? I tried acting casual, but that facade was torn off me the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look, it informed me of Rena's response faster than she could have opened her mouth. Why have you been lying to me? I wonder. I'm not lying. That's a lie, isn't it? It's not a lie. Lies! Rena's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Rena and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar, but still chained door could afford. I've never seen Gilid before. Neither have I. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I'd considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me. Shall I guess your dinner, Keiichi-kun? Let's see. I knew that Rena had already known that my parents would not be here tonight, but it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there was no way she could be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was instant? Cup noodles. That's right, isn't it? I was going to eat? Wait, the cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it's the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing. I don't think you'll be full with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot. Calm down, Keiichi Marabata. This was just coincidence. Rena was just reading certain tales of mine. So the fact she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. If it was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that. They couldn't possibly exist. Do you like them? Do you mean noodles? No. It's censored. I don't know what that is. Then indicated that uh, the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Dumbass? Let's see, hold on. D-U-M-E. Yeah, dumbass. No, dumbass. Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Dana had spoken. Sorry, Dana. What did you say just now? Huh? About what? Just now, you asked me if there was something that I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I'd pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That's why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Pork bone and ginger flavor. I wondered how I had appeared in the moments my mind was completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. Ooh, she guessed not only that we were having cup noodles, but the exact kind and flavor. Alright, good for you, good for you. As my field of view began to distort, slowly swirling into a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance. Why do you know that? I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Rena know even this? She kinda sus. Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Rena. But she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that. I certainly did buy them. I bought the bunch at once, but I bought a whole case. How could you know that? Why, I wonder? Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it? How could you dodge the question at a time like this? Oh, how could you dodge the question at a time like this? The chain and the door suddenly were no longer protecting me. How do you know? Why do you know? Answer me. You bought them at 7th Mart, didn't you? A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade. Like I said, why do you know that? I was behind you, following you the whole time. What are you saying? I couldn't understand what she was saying, or I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time. That's because Rena was right behind Keiichi's back. Oh, that's because Rena was right behind Keiichi-kun's back the whole time. Like last night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't even sense her being there, standing behind the door, behind me, standing there, just like that? When Keiichi was picking out the noodles, I was watching the entire time. You picked out so many different flavors, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were going to pick the expensive ones, then you should have just picked one type, she said. Then Keiichi picked out the big box of pork bone and ginger flavored ones that he loved so much, didn't he? I like it too. Pork bone noodles. But I can never eat a whole big bowl of myself. My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. It might have just been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloped my mind was cleared away. Then, I could understand what Rotena was saying and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. I didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step forward, or backwards, and as I withdrew, Rotena advanced. It's okay, Ichi-kun. Can you open this? Can we eat dinner tonight together? I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so... Okay? Redena's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door, one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Redena didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. You let her in? I know, right? She's just trying to have a dinner date. It's no problem, right? Have a nice dinner date with her and then just take her up to your room. She's already been there before, right? So, just get to smashing. smash, her in your room, you feel? She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light. Open up? Keiichi-kun? Please go away. I beg of you, please go away. How can you say something so mean, I wonder. Please go away. Go away. Go away! The powder keg inside me finally went out. Or went off. No smoldering, it just exploded. Ooh, fuck. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked down Erdena momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing, and the source of that was Rene's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack of the doorway. It hurts! It hurts, Keiichi! It hurts! Ah! It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp that she was trying to keep back. Yeah, she can't use them anymore, so... Keiichi, you gotta step in, my guy. Go away, go away, or go away! I kept on pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door at least momentarily, then I wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing. It really hurts, Keiichi-kun. I'm sorry if I was messing around too much. I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything. It hurts, it hurts! I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry! Go away, go away, go away! Then I couldn't even leave if she wanted to because I'd trapped her fingers. Then his white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming. I'm sorry! I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Go away, go away, go away! I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry! Rene's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. She made you food and you tried to smash and you just decided to ruin her fingers. I know, right? Go away, go away, go away! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Rene's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed suddenly. I could hear the thud of Rena falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately. Made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Rena. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Keiichi-kun, I'm sorry. Open up, Keiichi-kun. Rena again leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Rena echoing her apology. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Those pitiful words, they would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all. But that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Rena. Before Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying that there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Rena told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact my parents weren't home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out, and not even opened the door. My messenger plans hadn't helped at all, or meager plans. And Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Hey, what's up, Dyer? We just missed some epic shit. Shit's going down right now. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Rena as possible. 1 step, 2 steps. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I sprinted to the stairs and dove into my room. As you would expect, I was finally I was finally no longer able to hear it and is repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed? It was a receiver. I finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Oishi-san. Me and my friend are in chat. Nice, nice. Let's see. What has happened? What just happened was, what's happened so far is, quick overstory. We have started to practice our swings with the baseball bat in a way to keep ourselves safe. And currently, our parents are out of town. They've gone to Tokyo, and we are left all at home alone. We tried to make it seem like our parents were still here, but then Oishi-san, the police officer, called us and just checking up and shit. And then let's see, while in the middle of a phone call with him, Rena stopped by, and she tried to get herself in. At first, she tried being nice to let us in. Didn't work. And then she tried to convince us to. She had brought over dinner. She knew our parents weren't home, and the fact of like what we had bought we had bought prior, like exactly what we had bought, our instant noodles, a big whole lot of them. Even listened in on the conversation between our parents and stuff. And she admitted to following us right behind us for a while. So yeah. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? I had talked with Ordena for so long. How did almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second at every second as usual. So I put the still warm receiver to my ear. Time, which felt frozen, began moving once again. Hello, Oishi-san? Sorry to keep you waiting. No, not at all. I didn't wait that long. It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Oishi-san was different. Over the phone, I could hear the energetic voice from a sports program or something that drove me home. It drove home just how far away Oishi-san really was. Rena came just now. Did she come to play? I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Oishi-san, but I didn't need to right now. Right now I needed to know about Rena. That's right, I was planning to ask Oishi-san more about Rena, and Rena's little visit had interrupted that conversation. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Oishi-san about her. Up until now, I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. But looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any better, or feel any more regret than I did right now. No. Rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't. Regarding Rugu-san? I did a bit of digging. Yeah, well, it wasn't much. I understood what Oishi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're her friend. I want to know everything from your research. I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say, though. Oishi-san. I spoke as calmly as possible to Oishi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. Then I said it. I think Rene Rugu is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Shiro-san was cursed, Rene Rugu is involved. Do you have any sort of proof that makes you believe Rene-san is suspicious? The manner in which Oishi-san spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. I see. I could tell even over the phone how disappointed Oishi-san was. pulling on the finishing line when he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more. That's how it seemed. Oishi-san, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there. As Oishi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine. It's fine, Maribata-san. I'll protect you. That was not the least bit reassuring. Oishi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead may be of no concern to your investigation, but it's all over for me when I die. Oishi-san went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed was to relay Oishi-san that I was currently in a very dangerous position. So please tell me. Tell me about Rena. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future, I'll probably also do what Rena called transferring out as well. But you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't even been able to find Satoshi's body yet. Alright, Maribata-san, please calm down. I was already suppressing my agitation, even without Oishi-san having to tell me. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It would seem that I could only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect myself. Then, I at least wanted to know about what happened before Rena transferred schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Oishi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now, to me, there is nothing that I'll find uninteresting. Please. There are a few things I need you to agree to. Okay. Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. It might not be true. I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Rena Narugu has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this isn't an investigation of Rena done by the police, and is a personal inquiry, is what you're telling me? This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls or meetings and interviews, so they aren't corroborated. I'm asking you to take all of this with a grain of salt, is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of this is just from what you've heard? Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. That thing, before you said you saw it in his chart, didn't you? I'm sure I've heard you say that. Oishi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line. I told you that too? Please pretend you didn't hear anything about that. I didn't care about Oishi-san's having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumors, there's no smoke without fire after all. Please tell me, Oishi-san. Understood. Oishi-san finally opened those tight lips of his. It seemed that Rena lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture before she finished elementary school. Then following that, right after transferring, that unfortunate incident with the breaking into the school windows happened. Then Rena confided to the doctor. It was Oyashiro-sama. This was all that he knew. There isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Mayabara-san. And what part did you investigate further? I didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just after she transferred. The incident Rena was responsible for and what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? Yes. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Rena and the others, didn't you? Yes, I did suspect them. So they're the ones after all? No, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Huh. Boishi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Then, who did you suspect? That it was Oyashiro-sama. Huh? That Oyashiro-sama's curse really exists. Yeah, right, well... Oishi-san was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. There's a hair in my eye. Ah. That hurts. Okay, there we go. Oishi-san resumed the conversation. I'll try my best not to. If he survives for another 24 minutes, then we're good. About the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance. The course of events up until the start of the delving into Rena's past. Just then, there was a thunder in the distance, and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, rain so heavy it felt like it could beat you down. I had left the window in my room open, a crack, to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly. What is it? Nothing. It just suddenly started raining heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up while still on the phone and closed the window. I said at the beginning it was an incident, but because neither the school nor the victims filed charges, the police were never involved. So you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk. Regardless of there being a victim who had one eye beaten so badly it had permanent damage. It could have been the school or possibly some individual who made arrangements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about their professional ethics. Hello? Maibara-san? Can you hear me? There was a figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In a shower which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down her hair. Standing there, both arms dangling out her side. In just one hand was the stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room. I like that picture. Hold up. There we go. Wait, hold up. Let me try that again. There we go. Her eyes focused on my room. Focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that, at this time, I was more enthralled by Rena instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Oishi-san? If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Rena, nor would I have noticed that. Rena's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something. She was repeating something. What was it? What was she repeating? To me? What was she saying? And why was I right up against the window, fixated on her? Hello? Maibara-san, can you hear me? Hello? I'm sorry. Huh? Maibara-san. I'm sorry. 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 Hello? Maibara-san? What's the matter? Even in this torrential downpour, and it was still apologizing. Ooh. The other self inside me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking the view of the outside. But even doing that, Rena's relentless apology still reached my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. 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 Damn it! Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive. 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 My Bada-san? If you can hear me, then please respond. Hello? Ooh. Okay, okay. Oh, at the end. Split personality? At the 7th mark. Ooh, okay. Reign of apologies. Achievement unlocked. Alright. 20 minutes to do the 2 tips. Let's go. I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, poor people imagining themselves as wealthy in it is a form of escapism, is it not? Is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. It's something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree that with that, and some who disagree. There is no consensus. Then is this occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon? Something not fully comprehended by the psychiatric field? Unfortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope into future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities? Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have an abnormal mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Right after these commercials. What? Okay. The 7th mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. What is this? What's this, Keiichi? So many. There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? I flopped the different colored cup noodles bowls into the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently. There's a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Keiichi. Buy them one big case, it's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it didn't end up like this. Dad knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only get to eat only one kind. I'd get bored with it. I was resisting as a formality. I bit my tongue. Ow. I'd already given up inside and wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mommy will pick for you. You don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the cases of noodle for what I want. Pork bone and ginger. Large cup? Hey, Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and go get soy sauce or salt flavored. Pork bone is good. I don't want a big bowl of tasteless stuff. I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. Ooh. In this frozen memory in time, the encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So, I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Irena. I rewound the situation searching, but of course I couldn't find her. Then she was spying at me from my blind spot. I go through the sound and presences again looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably, right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused, my mental replay, as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence had really manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was that presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat were right behind mine. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't think I heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That is why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run away any faster than I ran at that time. I couldn't turn around. I had turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. At that time, it had taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was at the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted it to end. Someone turned on the light, except my body couldn't move, as if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible? Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved. So you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet the sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck prickled up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move? Like how the presence was moving behind me. I quickly realized I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time, but I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, I began to administer a pain like a needle being struck to my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I scream I was unable to vocalize. Huh? No! I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What? What is this? The situation in front of my eyes. It was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juices. The way you would do with an apple, but mine was being eaten. It began to munch down, slurping the juices, because it was like an apple. Meaning, what was in front of me was... Ah! Alright. Nah. This entire stream was one chapter? What? What? Oh my god, oh my god, wow. That was long. Typically it's like 3 chapters a stream. What the hell? I mean, I guess there was a semi-long pause at some point, but still. And no, I didn't die, Friedel. But, yeah, I'm about to end stream. Fire's wanting me to 1v1 some of his friends because... Or not 1v1, 3v1 one of his friends, or his friends. And, after that, are you down for some, to watch the Higurashi anime? Because, as good as my voice acting is, the voice acting in Higurashi's, oh, it's gorgeous. I love it. Alright, cool. I'll hit you up. Is tonight good, right? Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Cool, cool. Alright, well, that's going to be the end of my stream. I hope you all have a good night. And I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to noon for Doki Doki, and then same time tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central for Higurashi. See you in a bit, Friedel. Peace out.